Hydralisks. You know, if I back up in time, notice there's about 16 Hydralisks now. I'm just going to start hitting my B button to right about the time, right about here. So as we back up, just backing up just a touch. This is maybe a minute ago. Artosis, upon seeing those guys, so here's these units that they were just poking up here. Artosis is just now adding on a bunch of Hydralisks. And let me actually go to the production queue. So, you know, here are the Hydralisks making and all that good jazz. And as we see, these queens are going to continue adding on more and more larvae. So let's sort of start fast forwarding to that point where we were at in the previous game. So still more Hydralisks being made. And after the repel. Come on, Artosis, be on cue. Well, in just a moment here, once Artosis decides to spend his money and spend his larva. Come on, Artosis, come on. Don't make me spoil it. Well, at some point in the near future, Artosis will help me out here and spend his money. Artosis. Psst, Artosis. You should macro. Either that or he's saving up. Yep, there we go. There's the good old roaches coming down. Yeah, there we go. So this roach warren, I guess, was a little bit later than I recalled. But remember how in the other game, I said that his mid-game was Hydras, upgrades, and then getting a bunch of roaches. And you even heard me say multiple times throughout this entire, you know, shebang that Artosis, his normal build that I've seen him do many times is to get that third pretty damn fast and then worry about getting all the upgrades and the Hydras and the roaches and all this stuff. That third upgrade, it takes precedence. And when I say that this is what he normally does, this is against like these early expanding Protosses, these super ultra passive Protosses who, you know, take 2 bases and try to do all sorts of cool suave stuff with that. And in game 2, you saw that in the midst of all this pressure, Artosis just delayed the third hatch. And in this game, where there was even more pressure, Artosis delaying the third hatch and delaying getting all those roaches. But still it all comes together. It all comes together. So we can see that Artosis, now he's flooding with a ton of roaches. There it is. I was waiting for it because I knew it was coming because I've seen this replay before. But once all these roaches flood out, Artosis is going to have a nice solid mid-game army. And you just favored getting these +1/+1 ups a little bit beforehand. And here's another very interesting thing. Remember how Artosis got that infestation pit early? So he could get those Ultralisks early? Because Artosis was under such pressure and couldn't really move out, remember that there were those stalkers early on, and this big army was moving into the middle and moving back down here, Artosis really was leery of taking this third hatch early at all. So why free, you know, if your instinct tells you this is a scary thing to do, why try to resist that, you know? Looking at the situation, it definitely was scary to take. So Artosis is just going to accelerate other things. Anytime something else gets put behind, push something else forward faster. If your expansion gets delayed, get upgrades sooner. If your upgrades get delayed, then expand sooner. Just always think of it in terms of trade-offs. And as long as you have a core set of ideas of what you want to do, all the things that you're going to be trading off are completely obvious and already on the table. So here comes a very nice move by Human. So this looks like a pretty good time to expand. You know, you have a decent number of units. You can bounce back and forth. You have all these cannons up. Colossus about to come out. But the reason I like this timing better is because Human is about to push out. And Artosis has this nice mix of units. He has Zerglings, he has Roaches, he has Hydras. Artosis is very good about having a nice solid mix. The Hive has just finished, so Artosis is getting another Evolution Chamber to begin getting upgrades from, getting +1 upgrade from the third Evo Chamber instead of sacking the range upgrade at one of the other ones. Look at all these drones being made. So good. I mean, going to the production tab. Oh yeah, more drones being made here. And that's something that, when you... how do I want to put this? A lot of Zergs are aware that they need drones. They know that if they have lots of drones and they can support huge numbers of very expensive units coming out of larvae, which build really, 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 really fast. Especially with queens, you get larvae really, 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 really fast. And, with people who have these super refined builds. You heard me talk about my friend and his Terran versus Zerg problems, how he had this really refined build. A lot of Zerg players in StarCraft 2, within their really refined builds, they have very strict windows where they make drones. It's just, okay, it's time to make drones. But when they get thrown off, they stop making drones. And any of you Zerg players who are out there, I want you to go back and watch a game where you just felt panicked at some point. Like, let's say it was a storm drop, or maybe a bunch of Vikings landed in the back of your base and you didn't even know he was making Vikings or something like that. And I want you to watch how many drones you make after that point, like for the rest of the game, and think only about drones. How can I get more drones in here? That should be your only thought process is, am I making drones? Why are I not making drones? Could I get away with making drones? And you'll be shocked to realize, my goodness, I really could have gotten away with a lot more drones than my panicked brain told me I could. So that's why when I see Artosis deal with some very early harassment early on, very unorthodox harassment that really botched things for his early timing, and then huge swells of units poking up here, and then I still see Artosis happily making like 12 or so drones to move up here. That's great. That is just fantastic. And here's a nice little tactic to deal with these sorts of Colossus Stalker compositions. This is why I should always have an observer with there, because Unburl is so obnoxious. And here comes Shazoom! There comes the tons of roaches, doing all sorts of good damage. The resource counting station. Look at how far ahead Artosis is. Look at this. This is phenomenal. And this is the way Artosis likes to play, and this is what Artosis is good at. Artosis and Idra both are very talented at this. And here comes the sacrificial Colossus who decided to kamikaze, remembering, of course, that he's not a Baneling, so poor thing did no damage. But I want you to just look at this game state right now. 145 food to 82 food. Put yourself in Protoss' shoes. What did he do? He did early stalker pressure, got his expansion up and running at a much faster rate than the Zerg was expecting, was poking around doing all this pushing, got his third base up at a good time, had a great timing push, and got annihilated, just completely pounded in the face by Artosis, right? Artosis seriously put a nerd elbow right into his, nose or something. Yeah, his nose. That's it. So, it's that sort of description that makes you go, wow, Artosis was doing something right. And that's because, again, core, center, set of stuff going on, no matter any sort of aggression that happens early on. Any amount of Zerglings, or excuse me, any amount of 4 Warp Gate stuff, any amount of just early Zealot or Stalker pressure, no problem whatsoever. Artosis is going to hold down in Hero Boss mode and jump right back on track. And as we can see, Artosis is many, many moons ahead at this point. And of course, the smart burrow to do a little bit of healing. And I honestly feel like Artosis might be able to even smooth this build out a little bit more, because I'm seeing a lot of upgrades in this. I'm seeing Burrow, I'm seeing Tunneling Claws, we're seeing 333, we're seeing speed, we're getting both upgrades for the Hydralisk and the Roaches and the Zerglings. I feel like there's so many upgrades going on. Maybe if we backed off on some of those, we could have other parts of our gameplay even stronger. For instance, Artosis did completely cut out on any infestors whatsoever and is just favoring the big Ultralisk action. Genuinely curious if anything else could be done to make this very strong response by Artosis even stronger. And what we're starting to see Artosis do is just play passively, He's in this lead, and now he's taking this hatch. So you heard me talk about chunking in Game 1 today, where, that early chunk was just Zerglings to defend and just staying calm and staying on track, and then making a lot of drones. And there was this Hydralisk Roach transition in the mid-game with these +1/+1, that's another chunk. And then all in the later stages is just expanding, defending, getting the good unit mix-up. And because we're running a little bit over, and by a little bit over I mean quite a large bit over, I am going to accelerate this process a little bit. More warping coming in, there's even Templar coming out, and I want you to note how well these Ultralisks do. These Ultralisks just obliterate things. And without any Immortals, these Ultralisks die pretty damn slowly. It's pretty amazing how well this Roach Ultralisk combo does. God, that's amazing. And of course, Artosis cleverly doing most of the micro action with his Hydras, as those are the weaker units. They die to Storm a little bit more easily. Hoo-Hoobin trying to make many Templar, trying to make Archons, which are making a little bit of cameo appearance this game, to just say, hey, don't forget about me as a unit in StarCraft 2. Another big confrontation angle does not favor Artosis at all, and the result favors Artosis a lot. And what does Artosis do when he is maxed and has half the map? He pulls back, and what is he going to do? He's going to be adding on Larva like a crazy mofo. So whenever that battle does happen where he loses everything, he re-maxes his army instantly. And yeah, there's a Warp Prism coming up here, Zealot Archon, oh boo-hoo. Probably should have made a little bit of response faster than that. That would have been ideal. But either way, Artosis just playing passive, 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 passive. My goodness, I'm going so far over with this daily today. He's just playing passive, passive, passive. And here come the Ultralisk. Oh, Ultralisk Burrow, isn't that awesome? But yeah, you know, when you have 10 Ultras, it's going to be